গৰম এইদিন গৰমটো অলপ কমিছে ধৰক 40ৰ বাহিৰত উঠা 42 এতিয়া এডজাষ্ট হৈ গৈছে আৰু
Well, this day has turned out to be quite boring. Fortunately, I have something in the garage that will make things a lot more interesting.
Well, the question that's begging an answer in my mind is, does this bike hold true to the name Triumph has christened it with? And the answer is a resounding yes. Well, it doesn't stop there, my friends. Twist open the throttle and parallel twin motor unhinges 106 Newton meters of torque. How do I define it? Well, in one word, I would call it brutal. So this engine dishes out a sweet 76 bhp of power at 6100 rpm, and it's as quick as a whip to get to peak torque that comes in at 4000 rpm. What also adds to the fun is the ride-by-wire setup that has been built onto this motorcycle. The response is almost instantaneous, and as you open up the throttle, so does the bike just lunge forward with all its might. The throttle responds almost instantaneously, and that in part is also thanks to the multi-point sequential fuel injection setup that has been built onto this motorcycle. And the cherry on the cake is that exhaust note when you open up the throttle. It's got a distinct, deep, raw rumble.
Okay, so the Speedmaster does go fast, but is it really a practical motorcycle for the above average Indian Joe?
Well, that's a tough one. But to be very honest, I would say it falls somewhere in between. I wouldn't go as far as calling this bike nimble, but you can get around in traffic easy enough.
What about heat dissipation? Do your legs get nice and toasty while you're sitting on it in traffic?
Yes, it can get really warm out here, and I definitely think my left leg is cooking, but trust me, I've had much worse. Triumph's motorcycles are way better than competition when it comes to heat dissipation.
While I'm being honest, I have a question for you. Do you think these fat tires look good on this bike? If you do, please do let me know your opinions. I definitely think they look good.
Triumph Speedmaster features a 41mm twin shock KYB fork suspension in the front. It comes with 90mm of travel. In the rear you have a monoshock again by KYB, and that comes with 73.3mm of travel. It's a softly sprung suspension. It's very comfortable over potholes, undulations, bumps, and also provides ample of stability when you're leaning in corners, when you're on the highway, and that in part is also because of these fat tires that Triumph has bolted on to the Speedmaster.
Speaking of comfort, this seat has been set at 705mm, so it's pretty low. The bike anyways is low slung, and the rider foot pegs are a little far set in the front, and you also have these long beach bars that extend well in towards the rider. So your riding posture is actually absolutely perfect for cruising. Hold on just a second, guys. If you are enjoying this video, please do hit that like button and share it with your friends. And if you haven't done it yet, please do subscribe to the Autotech Review channel for more such content.
Now, braking on this motorcycle is facilitated by 310mm dual disc brakes in the front. In the rear, you have a 255mm single disc. The front discs come with a 2-pot Brembo caliper, while the rear gets a single pot Nissan caliper These brakes are very efficient. They also come with ABS and switchable traction control. It brings the bike to a halt as soon as you want it to. Gives the rider a lot of confidence to pick up speed and gather momentum, at the same time renders enough control. So when you want to push this motorcycle harder, rest assured that if you need to stop in an emergency, the bike will do so. The braking is progressive and has definitely impressed me.
Triumph makes a wide variety of bikes, but it has never forgotten its roots and where they began from. The Speedmaster, in its own ways, is a representation of this. Boasting of a classic design, this cruiser looks straight out of the 60s. The bike is long and low-slung. It gets beefy 130 by 90 R17 tires in the front and 150 by 80 R17s in the rear. The tires have been specially designed for the Speedmaster by Avon. They add to its rugged appeal and house the 32 wire-spoked wheels that give this motorcycle an authentic touch. The headlamp cluster comes in a classic nacelle design that was popularly made by this British bike maker back in the 50s and 60s. While enhancing the bike's retro appeal, it also lends a modern feel with a full LED lamp and DRL setup. The headlamp also casts a decent beam to light up the way at night. The fuel tank comes in a variety of colors and houses the Triumph logo in a rather old school layout. Unlike the Bobber, the Triumph Speedmaster comes with a 12-litre fuel tank. This gives the motorcycle a decent range and extends the refueling intervals on highway jaunts. There are ample of machine bits here and there on this motorcycle, all go towards giving it a raw and rugged look. The twin throttle bodies carry a classic look but house modern sequential fuel injection systems. Triumph has thoughtfully designed the Speedmaster with many classic looking parts to add to this motorcycle's retro appeal. Parts like the battery box, ignition barrel, chrome exhausts, drum brake inspired rear wheel hub, bullet turn indicators and a branded fuel cap. Sporting a classic hardtail look, Triumph has smartly tucked away the monoshock suspension under the rider's seat. The short fender in the rear also sports a chromed out dresser rail. We found the pillion seat to be a little small and may end up being a tad bit uncomfortable if you are taking a passenger along. While Triumph has carefully designed this cruiser to look straight out of the 60s, it has added a few modish bits like the headlamps and the instrument cluster. But unlike the retro looks, every mechanical bit boasts of modern techniques and the brand's growing engineering prowess. The motor powering the Speedmaster is shared with other models in the Triumph stable, but the one on this motorcycle has been tuned differently. At 4500 RPM, this engine produces nearly 10% more torque than the T120 and almost 42% more than the previous iteration of the bike. The story is the same with the power figures at 6100 RPM, being 10% more than the T120 and 25% more than the 2015 Speedmaster. As a cruiser motorcycle, the Triumph Speedmaster offers the rider with adequate torque low down in the rev band, so even when you are on a higher gear, you can easily pull away without downshifting. The bike has been built on a tubular steel cradle frame and features a twin-sided tubular steel swing arm. Like the Bobber, one needs to be careful over potholes and breakers because of the poor ground clearance. The tubular frame, however, does offer some protection, but a removable bash plate would definitely go a long way in increasing the rider's peace of mind. The stiffness of the frame, softness of the suspension, long beach bars and fat tires may make you think that the bike is not too maneuverable, but in fact this is not the case. All it takes is some getting used to. So when you do lean into a corner, there is ample of control and the bike will hold the line that you commit it into. This bike features ABS along with switchable traction control. It also gets road and rain riding modes that can be activated by a switch on the handlebar. Traction control, when turned on, works well to cut power if there is any slip or slide of the rear wheel. Other tech being offered on the Speedmaster includes an immobilizer, cruise control, torque assist clutch that makes clutching feel like a breeze. So I'm out here in the open and I'm really enjoying this fresh air and the beautiful serene environment, and it's all thanks to this, the Speedmaster. It can really help you break the monotony and set you free when you're out on highways, cruising, or whether you're in the city, it's got a distinctive presence and people definitely will notice you. The performance of this motorcycle as well is admirable and can really get your pulses racing if you put it through its paces. So if you are interested in picking up a motorcycle in the rupees 10 to 12 lakh price bracket, I would recommend you go and check out the Triumph Speedmaster today. It may just end up being the best decision you've ever made.